Thank you for joining me for this ICorps South regional webinar. This is for informational purposes for those of you that are interested in learning more about how to commercialize your scientific discoveries. My name is Molly Wasko. I'm a professor here in the Collat School of Business at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, and I'm also the director for the ICorps programs here at UAB. So very quickly, the agenda for today's webinar. First of all, why should you care about bioinnovation in ICorps? Also, how does ICorps support translational science? And then finally, what are the opportunities available to you through ICorps? So why ICorps? So the purpose of ICorps is to help train funded researchers how to evaluate their scientific discoveries for commercial potential. Basically, it's how can we increase the economic impact of the research dollars invested every single year. And so this is a program that started with NSF, and you can see NSF has an annual budget of about $7 billion. And when asked, well, what does that investment in research actually get the nation, then it started NSF thinking, how do we assess the economic impact of our research dollars? So in 2012, they worked on trying to answer this question. So what is our portfolio of research? What have we been able to advance or translate forward into real commercially viable opportunities? And they discovered there's a big gap. Although we're investing a lot in research, that getting that research off of campus and out into our communities has been very, very difficult. So NSF developed this ICorps program, built a national innovation network with the idea, how do we accelerate scientific discoveries into real impact in our community? And of course, while NSF has $7 billion annually in budget, NIH has $30 billion. They're a lot bigger. But then it's a little more complicated when we're talking about bioinnovations, so discoveries in the life sciences. So although ICorps was first developed through NSF, it is also incredibly relevant for helping our discovery scientists in health innovation actually examine the commercial potential of their research as well. So ICorps basically emerged as the premier federally funded innovation and commercialization program in the United States. So over the past 5 or so years, ICorps has mentored 800 teams at 192 universities across 44 states. This has resulted in the development of over 320 companies and an additional $83 million raised. So because NSF has been so successful with their ICorps program, 6 new agencies, including NIH through the NCATS program, are adopting some form of ICorps to help their discovery scientists from their regions. Basically, the underlying philosophy behind ICorps is a fundamental shift in thinking. So we all believe that all it takes is if you build it, they will come. If I just had another $100,000 to build my prototype, to build my, my discovery, to do my research, then of course it's going to be successful in the marketplace. So scientists, they're working on problems that are really, really important to them. So we spend our lives working on problems, trying to advance our science. However, rarely do we stop and think, who cares about the problems that we're trying to tackle? Are we really creating solutions to problems that people care about? And so with ICorps, what we are trying to get our scientists to do is change their mindsets. So are we actually working on problems that are important to some type of customer? And of course, I have customer in quotes here because that means some type of end user in general. So as scientists, we are already experts in the technology. We know more about our, the science we're trying to do than probably anybody else in the world. The biggest unknown to us as scientists is this customer or this end user or the beneficiary of the science that we're trying to do. So with ICorps, we're trying to help scientists become experts in the customer. They already know the expertise in the science or the technology, but what can we learn about the customer? So this is a good example of the typical problem. So 3 guys sitting in an office working on an app for teenage girls. If I were a teenage girl, I would love our new product. And of course, one of the guys says, have you actually talked to any to make sure? What? And actually leave our room? So basically, we're trying to help scientists think about how to go from being so internally focused, where we keep drilling down and becoming even more and more focused as we core into our science, to thinking externally. So how do we get our scientists out of the lab where they're looking inwards and out into the community? And so what we do with ICorps and the participants in ICorps is we get them out of the building. Go talk to your customers, your stakeholders, know what it is that they actually care about. So throughout the program, this is a theme you're going to hear over and over and over. Get out of the building. It's time to actually run experiments with real people to learn about what do they value about your science. And so this is what the ICorps National Innovation Network looks like today. So this is NSFs. At the foundation, there's something called an ICorps site. These are specific universities that have site programs, and they're spread across the country. These sites, these university sites, are supported by a network of nodes. And so there are 8 ICorps nodes, and the job of the nodes is to help support the sites, help with curriculum development, and also to provide regional training, like the training that's coming up here at UAB. So even if your university or your community doesn't have an ICorps site, you can still get access to ICorps by attending one of these regional training programs. From there, there's something called ICorps National. So these are ICorps national teams. Once you move through a site or a node, we recommend you to go on to a national program. And the big benefit of the national program, it comes with a $50,000 stipend for you to be able to advance your research and go through customer discovery. So here's the core of ICorps. What we've discovered is that engaging in customer discovery and going through this process, it works much better when you have teams of 2 to 4 people that work together on a single idea. And then the people on the teams, they actually take on different roles. So you have the discovery scientist, who is the expert at your technology or product. You have an entrepreneurial lead that helps manage the team and help it move forward, and you have an industry mentor, so somebody who is familiar with the industry. This is the ideal type of team, but even if you're discovery scientists or a scientist with some PhD students or postdocs, that it works better with a team. The program that we're getting ready to kick off is 2 weeks this April, and it's here at UAB. So we're going to have a face-to-face kickoff on April 12th from 8 to 4:30 in Mervyn Stern Library here on campus. Then for the 2 weeks in between, the requirement is that you actually attend 2 30-minute office hours with one of the teaching team instructors, and this can be done online. And then we'll come back 2 weeks later for the finale, which will also be face-to-face on April 26th from 8 to 4:30 in Mervyn Stern Library. So what you'll get out of this program: first day, we teach you how to go through the customer discovery process. Then over the next 2 weeks, we expect you to go out and get 20 customer interviews. Get out of the lab, go talk to your stakeholders, your customer segments, and then for the finale, when you come back face to face, tell us about what you've learned, and then we'll talk about some next steps. So basically what we are going to look for in the finale is teams are going to present more than the teaching teams. So the role of the teaching team is to actually coach you guys through the process. We are not consultants. We do not tell you what you need to do to advance your technology. We're not experts in the science. What we are is coaches in the process. So what does that process actually look like? So what we'll do is we'll take you through the process of customer discovery. And then the key tool that you will use to do this is something called the business model canvas. So the business model canvas is built off of 9 blocks. You start in the very middle. What is it that you do? What do you do? And what is the value of what you do? So once you define this, you come over here to this block, your customer segments. How does what you do actually help somebody? How do you reach them? How will you interact with them? How much will this actually make for you? What is your revenue stream? And then on the left side of the campus, how are you actually going to do what you do? What are the resources that you need? Who is going to help you? And then of course, what will it cost for you to be able to deliver this value? And hopefully by the end, you'll be able to say, well, how much are we going to make and will it actually cover what we cost? So with the program, what we're going to do is help you walk through each of these blocks. But the very first step, value comes first. What is your value proposition? The only way to figure that out is to go and get to know your customers, who it is that you're actually designing your innovation for, and what do they value. So here is a hierarchy of values, what people's needs are, what their wants are, what their dreams are, what their pains are. So values are not features of a technology, they're things that people believe and need. So what we're trying to get you to do as part of this program is to quit talking about the technology. Believe it or not, nobody cares about your technology. So the number one myth is that customers want your technology. That's not true. The reality is customers want to get their jobs done, their problems addressed, their pain killed, and their dreams achieved. Whether that could have nothing to do with your technology. And so one of the first tools we're going to teach you how to use is something called the business thesis. It's a very simple statement that we try and develop first day. Who is your customer? What is your product? Why will they buy it? Very simple statement. And so here's an example of a team that went through our fall regional training program. So this is a team that came out of Auburn University. Their company name is Spion. And so what do? They have an MRI contrast agent. They call it something diagnostic therapeutic agent, so-called theranostics. And so they came to the regional cohort that we held at Georgia Tech last October. And so when they applied, here's what they said they did. Small, consistent size molecules are best. That was their guess. So when we pushed them to actually turn this into a business thesis, the next version of it was MRI centers want agents with high quality results. Who is the customer? MRI centers. Well, actually, MRI centers are buildings. They are not customers. Who in an MRI center actually cares about what you do? Their product, agents. Why? High quality results. Pushing them out of the building to go talk to more and more people, discover who their customers are. Here's where they ended up. Radiologists will buy imaging agents, their product, that are safer for patients. So what this team discovered when they went out and actually talked to radiologists, it wasn't high quality results that they really valued. What they valued was something that would be safer for patients. So this had a direct impact on these investigators and how they're going to actually approach their science. And if they hadn't gone through this program to discover what it is that radiologists really like, they would have been tackling the wrong problem. So here's an example that you guys can do at home. Here's a product. It's called Autopilot. So this is currently fictitious, but boy, would I like it. Basically, what you do is you plug it into your cigarette lighter or your power cord in your car. You plug it into your phone, and it can turn any car, any vehicle, into an autonomous vehicle, self-driving car. So in thinking about this product, can you come up with a business thesis? Who cares? about autopilot, and why will they buy it? So take a couple of minutes, jot a couple of things down, and then we'll share back. Okay, so we've had some great submissions. So first of all, who is your customer? So the business thesis, working professionals will buy autopilot to make their commutes easier so they can work during their commute. Fabulous. So the customer, working professionals, they need this because they want to be able to use their time on the commute for other types of purposes. Here's another one. Elderly and people with disabilities want autopilot so they have increased mobility. That's another really good one. All right, here's another one. So who's your customer? People who want to go out and enjoy the evening will buy autopilot so they have a safe way to, a safe transportation means to be able to go out and have fun and get home and not worry about drinking and driving. So all great examples, excellent examples. So what you see just from this quick exercise that you have something called different customer types, different customer segments, and the value proposition could be different for each one of these customer types. It could be increased mobility. It could be regaining your time. It could be, being able to enjoy yourself without worry. So the key is to find who is the customer type that values this the most, and are there people that influence this decision? This is really important in life sciences because, who actually is the customer? Maybe it is the patient, but maybe it's not. So for instance, for the MRI centers, the patient is certainly the beneficiary, but, the customer was the radiologist. But when you think about that ecosystem, is the radiologist actually the decision maker, or are they the end user? Who is the payer in this system? Who influences this type of decision? Who can make a recommendation? And are there people that are actually anti-customer types? So saboteurs, people who don't want to see this innovation get to the market. So, you can see the complexity. It's not just a value proposition, but it's a value proposition to whom. So who are they? Their title. When you talk about the customers, it's actually a person. It's not a building, it's not a hospital, it's not an insurance agency, it is a person. Why are they important? But even more critical is this idea of what is important to them. Are you designing something that is important to them? And so this is where you get to this idea of product market fit. So the first step in the business model canvas is actually linking these two boxes together. But what did I just talk about, the customers? This is wrong, isn't it? So it's not the product that determines the market fit. Rather, it's the customer and the customer segment that drives the value proposition. So starting with the customer, what is important to them, and is that the kind of value that you can deliver with? And so the first day, we're going to have you work on a canvas. And so this is going to be your starting point. You're going to make guesses about who is your customer segment, what is your value proposition, how will you reach them. But at this point, day one, these are all just guesses. So one of the other key components of ICorps is we take the scientific method to actually do research to fill in the gaps of these guesses. So until you actually go out and collect data, that these will all just remain guesses. So how do you collect data to be able to turn these into hypotheses that are testable? You have to get out of the building. You have to go talk to your customer segments, talk to them and see, is your guess really a fact? by collecting data directly from your customer or end user. And so that's basically the foundation. Never assume that what you're working on will have value in a marketplace. Start with your customer and then go test your guesses by getting out of the building and actually talking to people. All right, so here are some themes that I've heard from working with some of the SBIR teams from NIH that have gone through the ICorps program. I don't need customers. I just need a 3-letter agency to approve this. I just need FDA approval. If I build it, they will come. Actually, yes, you need FDA approval. However, that's not enough. Why would you go through all of the pain of regulatory approval without knowing at the beginning, is there a clear payoff? So, who are you designing for? If it gets approved, who's going to buy it, and are you sure? Another theme is scientists talk about their science like they're talking to other scientists. They make the words way too complicated. So we're a theranostic. People don't understand what that means. They want their pains to go away. They want their dreams achieved. They want their jobs to be done easier. And so even after going through ICorps for about 4 weeks, scientists are still talking about their science in a way that's far too complicated. All right, so another thing that we would get is, you'd go out and you'd talk to 10 customers, you'd check in with us during office hours, and you'd say, the people I interviewed, the people I talked to loved it. Well, that's not good enough. That means you're out there selling your product. What we need to do is dig down deeper. Why do they love it? Why is that important to them? How much is that important to them? What is that going to take? Another thing that we hear, oh, business, that's the dark side. I'm a scientist. My job is to just come up with the discovery, that it's somebody else's job, like the business students, to actually figure out how to take it to market. Well, that's not necessarily true. I mean, this is the side that actually brings your research to the light of day. When you think about how much time we spend on our research and trying to advance our science, don't we want that to actually have real-world impact? And who is that more important to than you? And so, even if you never even launch your science into some type of, commercial enterprise, perfectly fine. But you know what? You will be able to talk more relevantly to the people who can do that. You will be able to help pass this on to the team that could take it forward. And that's huge. Finally, it's really hard to get interviews. So one of the things that we expect in ICorps is to go out and get 10 interviews a week. And it's really hard to do this, I agree. But when you think about it, how many customers are you going to need for your discovery to be commercially viable? You're going to need a lot more than 10. You're going to need a lot more than 50, a lot more than 100. And so, yes, it's hard to get interviews, but this is practice for how you're going to get, engage, and keep customers. So these are the types of things we'll go through. And the fun thing, you'll be in a cohort with other people just like you, struggling with the same things. And so getting back to why. So first of all, ICorps is going to make you a better scientist. It's going to make you think differently about the scientific problems that you tackle in your labs and thinking about who it is that you're actually designing for, and not wondering, but actually knowing them. This is going to help you write more compelling grants. You will be able to state with certainty, because you've spoken with the people you're designing for, that how your science is going to have a real-world impact. It's going to increase your chances of doing science that makes a real difference in the world. And then it's going to help us train the next generation of translational scientists to start thinking about the end in mind when they start designing their approach, creating a new mindset. So I hope you'll join us. Sign up today. All you need to do is go to ICorps South to join our Spring Regional Training Program. Kickoff will be April 12th. It'll be here at the Mervyn Stern Library at UAB, followed by 2 weeks of online engagement and 2 office hours and 30-minute office hours with somebody on the teaching team. And then we'll have our finale 2 weeks later, April 26th. Thanks, and I hope you'll join. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. I can meet with you or we can talk via email. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time today.